Hey everyone, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching. So, warm day, got the fan going, but we got part 2 of this Craftsman LT1000 here. Part 1, we ended up doing, honestly, a lot of standard issue work that I have to do with Craftsmans whenever I get them. This one actually ended up needing a starter. The starter gears in this one were pretty rusted out and bound up and just flat wore out. So we got a starter in it. And we put a carburetor on it. That pretty much fixed all the running issues, in addition to a valve adjustment. We ended up taking the deck off, and I've just got it painted. I'll show that to y'all in just a second. We're fixed the stuck blade engagement issue that's very common on these that have the cable engage associated with them, and so we still need to replace the blade engage cable. So in this video we're going to do the blade engage cable, we're going to do the brakes, which is another very common issue with an easy fix. We're going to put the deck back on it, put a new deck belt on it as well, and then we're going to run this thing and drive it around and see if it's worthy enough to be gone, sold. Got a bagger for it too, so I will show you all that, and we'll hook up the bagger and all that good stuff in order to sell it so we can get some top dollar for it. The lot that I got this mower in is already paid for itself. I've already made some money off of it, so whatever I get off of this is just pure dollars, which is great. That's always a plus. That's why I say buy in lots. That way if you have a bad apple, you're not losing out. And if you can get all of them running, you're going to make some good profit off of them, as long as you can get them at a good price. So let's go ahead and get started with this and actually finish it up here in this video for part 2. So I'm trying to beat the storms this afternoon, beat the rain. I've got the deck out here. I did just put a coat of, that 97 cent quick color on it. The only bad spot in this deck, and the thin spot, is right here. Is that small hole. It's not really affecting any of the mounts or anything like that. And I don't really have, because I don't really want to weld around here, because this is kind of starting to thin out, and I don't want to be burning holes through it and mess it up even more. If that's the only spot on it, I mean, all your mounting points are good. The front's actually in decent shape, which is kind of a rarity sometimes. Just got that small hole there. Deck's in good shape otherwise, considering how rusty the tractor was. Looked like it had been sitting outside for a while. I got pretty lucky with this. I freed up the pulleys. This one right here just needs a little bit more time to work around. I think both of the blade spindles are pretty good too, from what I can tell. One of them seemed a little bit less free than the other, but these are non-greasable, so I think we just need to give them some turning time and we'll be good. Need to put a couple bolts in the wheels here for the anti-scalp. That's a pretty easy fix too. I've already sharpened the blades on them. The blades probably can get another season out of, so I just let them stay on there. Just gave them a nice edge, and they look like it still had some good lift, although the edge was starting to curve around a little bit. Tractor itself. Well, here's the bagger. I'll show you that real quick. So it's a 2-bend soft bagger, but this is the mounting portion of it. I just got to put it on there. I'll be looking forward to getting this out of my yard. As you can tell, we're starting to thin out just a little bit, just a tiny bit. But real quick, LT1000 Craftsman, 17.5 horsepower. So this is kind of the lower trim level, so to speak. A lot of them have like 18.5s and up in this time of era. Last year, before they started making the YS series also, made in 2005, I put a new battery in it. Starts and runs good. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to take off this deck engagement cable, and we're going to put a new one on there. Pretty easy to do. Let me get the tools I need, and we'll go ahead and get going with it. Alright guys, this is pretty easy to do. Got some 10 mils. Get your gas tank out of the way. Some applications are going to have a battery here, so you would have to take the battery out and a battery tray and a battery plate in order to access this. But if you have a gas can like this, a couple 10 mils and you're golden. Get on this side, hopefully I don't get in the way of the camera. We've got the starter solenoid down here. Everything's testing out good now that I put the new starter in it. So now, what you're gonna have is 4 bolts. I find it easier to take this blade engagement mechanism off. We've got 4 bolts, and I want to take this off as well. So I might have to grab a little bit of, get something that has a little bit of gusto associated with it to get it off. Because taking this off is a lot easier than trying to fit it on the tractor. So let's see what we can do here. There we go. Just need a little bit of encouragement to get off. Just that knob. And the fun thing is, hopefully coming up on the channel, I've pretty much got a Craftsman that I have stripped down to nothing, but I have all the parts to rebuild it. So we're going to do almost like Henry did with mowers and blowers a while back. My plan, that's a lot of calcium buildup or something right there. My plan is to build one of these from scratch pretty much, just to make it good. All right, I'm going to take these. You can get a 10 mil or 3/8. Taking those 4 bolts off that I mentioned. All right, so now take note of where it is in relation to the wires. So it goes under these wires that go over to the headlight switch. If you get messed up, you can always just unplug the headlight switch and plug it back in where you need to. So in terms of the cable, you can see this one has seen much better days, and somebody did some sort of hack job on it. For 10 bucks, we're going to replace, not even $10, we're going to replace it. So just pull this clip, pull this, hopefully you can see this, hopefully the engine's not in the way. Pull the clip, pull the plug, and then you have it free. And so they fed this one through the plate, which is kind of weird. But we're just going to feed the spring back up. It must be zip tied down here. Can't find it. There it is. Yeah, somebody zip tied it. So I just fed it through the zip tie. I will keep pulling. Get it on up through here. Really? So they fed it through the parking brake lever, which I guess is what you do when it's stock. I'm not sure. So I've got to go an alternative way to get this thing off. Which is to just go ahead and detach it from the top up here. So I'm going to do that, pull it out. So now I've got to undo the wrongdoings, so to speak, of ingenuity. Or do I? Maybe not. So now there's a little tab in here that you got to push up on. Since this is probably the stock cable, it's going to take a little bit of pushing in order to get it to pop off. Aftermarket ones will not stay on to save their life, but these will stay on very well. So let's see what we can manage here. Get it pulled up. There we go. And then this is just going to come right off. So that's the cable. I'm going to feed it down through the bottom since I can't go through the top. because of the way they've got it fed through the parking brake lever. We will not feed it through the parking brake lever because that's not there we go. There we go. Alright, so the cable's off. You can see there's no need to even try and fix that. We're going to replace it. I keep these pretty readily available. So what I plan to do here is I don't know if I'm going to go through this park brake lever area because it's just a pain. So I'm going to bring it down through that hole that there's a hole down here, you'll see it. And it's not like it's going to be binding up on anything where it is. I mean, you got your deck lever, or I could just go down and go ahead and put it like it was. Say, Casey, stop being lazy and do it like the way the stock was. So I fed it through that parking brake hole. Now what we'll do is I'll grab the blade engage mechanism again, feed it up under here, hook it on. That one, see, they don't really like to stay on, so what I do is I will grab some electrical tape and I simply just wrap some electrical tape around it, which helps it out some. And just pretty much wrap it around the top because I want to make sure that it's kind of hard to wrap it unless you get some decent leverage on the rod there so that it stays where it needs to. And the mission here is we're just trying to keep this thing we're just trying to keep it from sliding off the top. It doesn't have to be incredibly tight, it just needs to make sure that it doesn't slide off at the top of this so I'm just doing that in order so that it doesn't try and pop up, if you see what I'm trying to do there. So if I push up on it, it's not going to come up. And then you also have to ride the line of, you don't want to get it involved in the grooves right there. So we got it on, right? Remember, it went under the headlight wire. And so now what I'm going to do, there we go, is just kind of thread this in. Thread these 4 bolts in. Number 3 and number 4. Again, wear their finger tight. And then you can take if you have a small impact, there. Oh, I know why. You gotta slide these tabs up into the little groove for your blade engage. Come on. There we go. So now it just doesn't seem like it wants to come over for some reason. It will. With a little bit of a fight. Woo! And we might physically bend it a little bit. Because I put it back in right. We'll just plug this back in as well, and we're done with this. Should be anyways. Alright, so this is done. Blade cable is on. We did it in less than 12 minutes with me explaining it. Put the gas tank back on. Put your bolts in, and voila. Let me put the deck back on, and then we'll move on to the brakes. Alright guys, I may have gotten lucky on this one. I may not have to do the whole brake assembly. What I did do, it's always hard to show, but so you see that little stud sticking out that has the nut on it? Take a 1/2-inch wrench, and I turned it to the right. So what that did is it tightened up the brake pad, and so I've got it to where it, well, it kind of rolls freely, I guess. Oh, I've got this in the way, that's why. Let me hook this up here real quick. So I've got it to where it's rolling freely, right? And then when you hit the brakes, you want it in neutral, mind you, for a 6-speed. You want to make it so that it's not moving anywhere, you see? So I'm pushing it forward and it's trying to lock the transmission. I don't know if you can see through the gear shifter there. So I think, because it rolls freely, I think the brakes just needed tightening. A lot of times they're rusted out. So that was short. I did show you the deck already. So now, honestly, all that's left for me to do is to put that deck on and change the oil in it, because it does need an oil change. I did put an air filter in it, right? Air filter is in it. I gotta buy some new air filters for these Briggs. I just gotta change the oil in it. This thing's done. Put the bagger on it. And we have a great little riding mower for somebody. I will cut the backyard with it just to make sure everything's good with it. But let me get the deck over here. I'll put those bolts in for the wheels. That way we're done with that. And then we'll hook everything back up. See if we got a running and mowing lawn tractor here. Alright y'all, let's put the deck back on. I found bolts for the wheels, so we're good there. Just slide it in. So what I usually do with these, remember that cable we just replaced? I usually just hook it up onto the height adjustment. Slide it in. What I kind of like to do first is to go ahead and attach this thing while I've got it up here. I'm going to run it around that zip tie back here too, just to help keep it off the deck. So this is pretty easy to do. You're gonna grab your hardware, which I don't have here, Rep. So it's the big clip that looks like that, the narrow big clip. Spring goes first, then followed by the little washer, and then your clip. Actually, I'll take that back. It's this clip. Knew something was wrong. So that clip. Now this clip, we're going to hook the deck cable on right there. There's a little plastic washer that goes in, and then this big thin clip goes in that. It's a tight, kind of a tight fit, so just work it around, work it through. Alright, so now we should have a get hung up somehow. Still. What's it getting hung up on? Just needs some time to work, I guess. I mean, so let me push it in there. I'll lube it up one more time. Need to get me one of them big old things of grease, lithium grease. So now I'll slide it in there, pull out the deck arms, lower this, and let me get you down here. Hopefully I can show you better here. You might hear some wind noise because I got the fan going on this little warm day. But what we're gonna do, you can see that. We'll put this deck arm over the deck just like that. Clip it in one of these clips. Usually I like to go this way. Oh, y'all also saw the deck routing that I had going on too, right? So do that. I usually like to route the deck belt on before I mount anything, so let me do that also. So let me take this clip off. Hopefully I don't bust my knuckles trying to do it. I'll take this mount off one more time. So what I like to do is push this forward and then put the deck belt on. Just kind of seems easy to do it this way. I'll push the deck back, and now we've got the belt on. Now we can put that mount on a little bit, maybe not easier, but that way the belt's already on there and we ain't got to worry about it when we finish. So just clip it. There's one on the other side too. We'll go over there. There's actually two on the other side that we need to take care of, and I'll show you them. The good thing about breaking this part up is I can make it a little bit longer and we can make this work. So I think you see, sun glare's a little rough there, but let's see what we can see here. So your second one hooks in right here. Sometimes you have to lift the deck up just a little bit in order to get it on. There we go. We'll clip that in. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. And then your back deck mount, which I think you can see, pops in. We'll clip that in as well with the clip. There we go. Now we'll move to the front. So the front just hooks on. You kind of have to lift up the front of the deck in order to get them on. Yeah, that one's not going to go that way, is it? There we go. And then the other side. All right. There we go. So now what we're going to do is level the deck, and I'll tell you, you got to have it on level ground, and most importantly, have your tires pumped up. Let's see how we're. That is a lot of resistance on that cable. That's a lot of resistance on that cable. I'll lube it up some. Hopefully that'll help. What I like to do, get it up highest position, number 6, and then I grab 2 items that are of equal height. And what I've learned is that oil filters are good. Like the boxes, these are what I use to put on any pressure lube engines. 3614 Super Tech. I ain't never had one blow up on me. Alright, so I just put the oil filter boxes on there, and you see, I don't know if you can see very well, but what I'm trying to do is get the blades and the oil filter pretty much at the same height. So I'll take it over to the left side and try and see if I can find the same height there. Some of you are like, you need to measure. Well, these boxes are pretty exact, I think. And so on the side here, you can't see it because of limitations, but it is basically the exact same height on this side as the other side. It's just barely clearing the top of the oil filter. So that's good. So I was going to do a little lubricant here, right? PV blaster. This thing was a little rusty crusty when I first got it. So. That should help it slide a little better. That's a little better. Still feel like it should engage a little easier. That's why I'm kind of working it a little bit. But it will engage easier once I start it. It's always a little hard whenever you don't have that going on. So I'm going to end this clip here. I'm just going to pull it out a little bit, and then we'll see if this thing's going to cut grass, and then I'll go cut my backyard with it. Alright y'all, let's give this thing a shot. It's a cold start. It's a little bit ornery when you first start it up. But wonky. Thing's really trying to. I smell a little bit of rubber whenever I was trying to engage it there. Remember, some of these parts ain't moved in a long time, so let's try this again here. Try this again here. Well, seems like there's a little bit of drag on the deck, but it's getting better. Like I said, I think if you didn't wake up for 4 years, you'd be a little you'd be a little rough on the start too, wouldn't you? So let's see if I can get it cranked. The park brake's a little bit wonky on it, but I mean, I can reroute that cable if I need to, because that's kind of what's, I don't know if it's necessarily what's binding it up, or if it's just that park brake is just not, the park brake release I think is just getting kind of old, but let's see. That's much better. Making a loud noise under there. Still moving. So it's getting bound up still. I thought I had got it fixed. Guess not, because it's let's see. Of course, I could have a belt that's just a shade too long too. That's a possibility, because that's just a cheap belt that came with a drive belt that I replaced, I think. But it is the right length. It should be the right length. So I don't know. I think at this point I'm just gonna change the oil in it and ride. If a deck spindle breaks, if a belt breaks, I'm really not out any money. Just gotta find me a deck belt if I do, though. Oh, thought processes, right? It doesn't look like the spring is working either. It may be broken. It's just a little stretched, actually, because it's supposed to be down, but that's all right. It's going to function okay as it is. All right, let me change this oil and see if I can cut the backyard with it. If I can cut the backyard with it, I feel confident enough to put the bagger on it and sell it. But we shall see what we end up getting here. All right, y'all, so you know that pulley that I was talking about that I was trying to free up? It looks like that's failing. I did make a couple passes, and that thing is this belt's starting to squeak and squeal and do a bunch of unnecessary stuff. So what I'm going to do, and it's best because I can feel it kind of locking up a little bit, growling, and got a little play in it. The deck spindles seem like they're moving pretty freely, so I don't think they are the issue. The other pulley's fine. So what I'm going to do is I've got another pulley that I just showed you, I think. I'm just going to, instead of taking this whole deck back off, I'm going to just take this pulley mechanism off here. I'm going to take this deck off of the guide, or this belt off of the guide here, if I can get it off. Might be a little too tight, but let's see. And just swap that out, if y'all can see it. I'm just going to try and swap that out once I get the belt off of the guide here. So that's kind of unfortunate. I was hoping that belt is tight on there. Man. Might just take the deck out and remove it. Might be the easiest thing to do, honestly. At least got to take the deck arms off the front. I'll do that. Y'all saw how I put those pulleys back on, so I'm not going to repeat what I showed you in part one. I'll get that pulley replaced and drive it, and we'll see if that fixes things. Alright, y'all, so this is my product of trying to cheapen out. Check this out. So it's free there, and then sometimes it'll occasionally grab a little thing of rust and lock up on us. So of course it's not going to do it on camera, but it's pretty rough. Got a much better pulley on there, so I'm pretty sure that was my culprit. So like I said, the other pulleys and the spindles were moving pretty freely, so I did not think it was that. So we'll go ahead and throw that away, because I know I will not need that pulley anymore. But hopefully I can save the little mechanism just in case. So new pulley's on. We'll give this thing a shot. Hopefully we've got good. The blade engage and disengage is working better now, and the reason why is because I had this tensioner. This is almost like a tensioner pulley, and I had it too far out. So what I did is I brought it as close as I could to this mount without having it on the mount, and it's helping the belt issue. You can see it was trying to eat it up in a couple of spots. Of course, this is a cheap belt anyways. It's the only one I got here, so I don't really have much of a choice if I can get this thing out this weekend. But I'll put the deck back on, cut some grass, and excuse me, hopefully we'll be done with this thing. Alright guys, here we are the next morning. I spent a lot of time yesterday evening trying to figure this thing out. Carburetor wise, if y'all remember, this thing would start and it would have to pretty much warm up for about 5 minutes before the blades would even try and kick on without it dying out. Here's what I ended up figuring out. So I bought crappy carburetors, and I've learned my lesson. There's one place I buy carburetors from, and it's called the ROP Shop, R-O-P. They're on Amazon. Their carbs are about 20 bucks a piece. I got the $12.50 carburetor, and I regret that purchase very much because they all were terrible. So I ended up having to use a Nicky carb body, the jet from the carburetor, but a new plastic, I guess, housing and a new gasket off one of the new carburetors for this to even want to work, because I was having a problem where I had it broken apart so much it was starting to leak and all that mess too. So, but as you can see, I got the bagger on it as well. It's fine. I didn't realize it was in a little bit rougher shape than it is. I knew it was missing this plastic piece here, or this rubber piece, guard, whatever you want to call it. I didn't realize it was also missing one of the rubber straps, and it was missing the strap right here. So I got it functional, and that's what I was trying to do. So what I did is I put a spring right here between the, what is this, on the bottom of this, and then I put the spring and attached it to this wheel here, the wheel mount, so that it doesn't go, so it doesn't really play around too much, and it's not going to fall off. I did drive around a little bit just to make sure, and it does work. It was bagging. I mean, it's not a perfect seal, but it's got enough lift to where it's going to be just fine. Again, at the price point I'm going to price this at, it's not like they should be expecting perfection. As you can see, the seat's got a little bit of chewage on it. Nothing crazy ridiculous. Pretty average for, actually a little bit above average for a mower that I get like this. A little bit weathered. New battery. I got it listed for $550, but at least this thing will start, run, and cut reliably. The deck's doing just fine after I fixed the issue with the pulley. Cut the whole backyard with it, did great. But whenever I would start it cold and try and get it to go, it wouldn't. So now, this morning I started it up on a cold start and pretty much immediately threw the blades on to see what would happen, and it was fine. So let me see if it's going to do that here as well. If so, I mean, I've already got it listed. I'm ready to get this thing out of here. Clean up my yard a little bit. As you can see, my yard is actually getting a little cleaner because of the bagger that was sitting right there is on the mower. So hey. Let me crank this thing up, see if I can engage the blades. We'll go for one final drive. I'll wrap this video up for us. Carburetor. turning off like they're supposed to. Running good. Pretty satisfying after all I did last night to try and get this thing running right. It was one of those, I wasn't going to bed until it was right. Mowers. Idles down pretty good. Cuts off. Only thing I wish I had here is an air filter, but the one that's on it is okay. So we'll see what this goes for. Like I said, this was one of the ones last night to where I was working on it, and it got to be getting late, and I said, no, I am not going in the house until this thing's running right, because I wanted it listed. This is a Saturday that I'm filming this now. I wanted this thing listed on a Saturday morning so that I have maximum exposure in order to try and get it sold. Like I said, I've got this listed for $550, considering some of the cosmetic flaws and a little bit of the deck hole in it. But it has a bagger. I sold a 38-inch that was in a little bit nicer shape for $450 last weekend with no problem. So I figured that at $550 this thing would get moving pretty quickly, and I can get continue to get the garage emptied and move on to the next projects, which seem to kind of be moving a little bit slower than they were a little bit earlier in the year. I'm filming this in middle of June, so by this time a lot of people already have what they need for the year, but you still get the ones that are desperate, or the ones that realize they don't want to push their yard anymore and want to get a rider. So we'll see what ends up going on with this. I'm glad it turned out as good as it did. What we do? Starter. I'm glad we didn't have to do a compression release. Well, we got ATF in the tires and did some carb work. Had to do that deck work on it as well. So we got this thing going, and hopefully we'll get it going here pretty soon. But thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this two-part video of what I did, and I'll see you on the next one.